Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, IWC members of all shapes and sizes, I am your host, per usual, Brady K13, aka Kyle, aka, and I am joined tonight by my lovely co-host, Mr. James.
Did you
James,
did you just call yourself the host?
I am
Call yourself the host. You are the host, are you? You are
the host.
The host. So that means
I'm,
no one else is around, huh? That's it?
No, you're a co-host. I'm the host.
You are the host. Well, who died and made you the host?
I can't admit to murder on YouTube, Mr. James.
You want to care to explain this? You care to elaborate on this?
Well, we had a host. He had a break failure, and I became host.
By the way, thank you for the compliment on the new hair. You didn't really notice it. Is that it?
Oh, I noticed it. I just
Oh yeah, you're mocking me, are you? You're mocking me? Yeah.
Oh, you picked that up, didn't you? You picked it up, didn't you?
Yeah. Guess what? I'm just gonna rise above it.
Oh well, look at you, aren't you fancy? I keep itching my eye because you make my eye itch. You gave me pink eye via camera.
That's weird. So let's just continue.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you clicked on this video, hopefully you know what you clicked on because we're not misleading whatsoever on this video. This is a career breakdown. We will do many of these, but this is the very first one, so you will experience history with us. You are experiencing video history.
History in the making, ladies and gentlemen. You are part of the very first edition.
Exactly what me and Mac don't. Me and Mr. Mac, James, I call him whatever I want to call him, bitch, a co-host, anything. We don't agree on anything, but we agree on this. You're excused. No, calm down. We don't agree on anything, but we will agree on this. You are part of history. This is the first edition. You have the opportunity to watch the very first episode of Career Breakdown in action, live, not so live, here on YouTube.
The years of build-up on the internet have led to this very moment.
Exactly. From the second the internet was born, the second a computer was born back in the 70s when Steve Jobs and what's-his-face made a computer in their garage, it was all building up to this. This moment. This
very moment right here in time.
Everything was leading up to this. Everything led up to this video because you experienced history. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get right down to business. Today's career breakdown, tonight's, this week's, this month, whenever you're watching this. This episode's career breakdown will be of none other than probably one of the biggest superstars to ever exist in wrestling, John Cena. Now, love him or hate him, John Cena is one of the most decorated wrestlers in professional wrestling or sports entertainment, whatever word you decide to use. And I know I said love him or hate him. Chances are you probably hate him. But for better or for worse, he is one of the most decorated superstars. He is the biggest superstar in wrestling history, next to Hulk Hogan, next to Stone Cold. Whether you like that or not, probably gonna get a bunch of shit for that too.
He is the franchise of WWE. He has been the name and face of the company now for the better part of a decade. And you know, like Kyle said, whether you love him or hate him, you cannot deny the amount of hard work and dedication he has put into the business. I mean, since day one. He's been there.
You can't, and here's one thing: he has never left. Whether it's a good or bad thing, he's never left.
He's never left, and you know what? Definitely, I could see Cena being like the next Ric Flair in terms of like saying he's in terms of like just always being around in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I think Cena's going anywhere anytime soon. He had his chance with Hollywood. He still has a chance with Hollywood, but he doesn't make movies as often as when Dwayne got a piece of Hollywood. He got more movies than wrestling time. So I don't think Cena's going to be leaving anywhere anytime soon. Unless his body finally starts being robotic and breaks down. Which is a very realistic thing happening.
That is another thing about Cena. I swear, his machine runs on like oil or something. He is like the guy. The guy tore his pec or something like that or whatever.
he tore his pec and came back like 5 months later. The dude basically broke his neck and came back 6 months later. The dude never not even when he basically broke his neck at SummerSlam. He came back in Survivor Series. That's like what,
That's
2 months, 3 months. Like I don't know. I don't remember the exact injury, but I know what he had to do with his neck. He basically broke his neck. He slipped it. He did something to a disc in his neck. The
dude is basically like a fucking worm. Like when you cut a worm in half, it becomes two. When you chop off like a limb of Cena, another one grows in his place. Like it's.
I mean, if you want like an idea of like even like minor neck injury, look at Daniel Bryan. He went into surgery because of a pinched nerve in his neck.
And now it looks like he'll be out till January.
And he went out in like what? June? May?
June. Or no, it was mid-May, I believe.
Yeah, he went out mid-May. We're now in this video being recorded and uploaded in the late August, early September. That's like there's already 3 months there, and he's still out. John Cena slipped a disc or did something. It's like if you know, leave a comment in the comment section what exactly his neck injury was. I'll probably look this up after this video, but he basically fucked his neck up and he came back 3 months later. Whether it was a minor neck injury or not, look at Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan's thing was a minor neck injury, and look what that turned into.
And now it's being turned into something that's completely more serious, and it looks like he's going to need another surgery. So.
Yeah, so John Cena, when they say he is the machine for WWE, he is the machine.
He's literally the machine. Like, I swear, there is probably like a made in China thing on the back of his neck somewhere. Like, he is. Like, it's insane. Like I don't know what kind of genetics this dude has, but they are insane.
Because if you want another example, last year at this time, he went out with an injury with his elbow. I think it was something with his elbow or something with his. I forget what it was, but I think it was an elbow that was caused by something from his what's the muscle called? Tricep.
Yeah.
He had some issue with his tricep that went to his elbow and all that kind of stuff, and he came back like what, 2 months later? Not even that.
And he became world champion?
Yeah, when was Hell in a Cell last year? Wasn't it in October?
October, yeah.
Yeah, so he went out in August and came out in October. That's 2 months for a torn tricep. The dude wrestled with a torn tricep for like what, 3 months?
When we say that John Cena is dedicated, we're not exactly kidding. It's like no, this guy bleeds, eats, sleeps, breathes, bleeds,
breaks, rebuilds,
breaks and rebuilds the wrestling business. Like, it's
ridiculous.
It's out of this world insane. I mean, he really is a larger than life character.
I mean, it's to the point. I don't even hate John Cena. It's to the point I feel so bad for his body that I would love him just to like break his toe to force him to take like a month off. The dude doesn't take a break, not even to heal. Not even to heal.
And you know what? That's also one more thing. He's not even a character. He is the guy. I mean, he basically is the guy that he portrays on TV. When you think about it.
But the dude's a machine. Like, I'm pretty sure if you take like a blood sample, it won't be blood you're taking. I'm pretty sure it might be WD-40.
Probably.
I would not be surprised knowing Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon did like build him like some underground lab underneath WWE headquarters, like the perfect prototype.
Yep.
For lack of better words.
Ironically.
If you know what I'm referencing, congratulations.
Ironically.
I'm not seeing a fan. I mean, I would not be surprised if that character was built out of fact. Like valid, he is a robotic prototype of the perfect wrestler. Perfect human, the dude doesn't break. The dude gets divorced and he's back the next night. The dude is physically and emotionally immortal. For lack of better terms.
I think we've just come to the conclusion that the dude isn't human.
I've known that for a very long time. The man is a fucking machine.
Yep.
I mean, the dude has no emotions. He gets divorced, he's back the next night. The dude breaks his neck, he's back in 2 months. The dude tears his pectoral muscle. He's back in what, 3 months?
He's back in the 30 slot in the Rumble.
The dude busts his neck at SummerSlam, comes back in Survivor Series. The dude busts his elbow at like Extreme Rules, doesn't leave until SummerSlam, and then leaves for 2 months and comes back.
Still been here since then.
The dude, I mean, I'm pretty sure even when he's filming movies, he doesn't go away.
I'm convinced, and okay, like, you know what? I'm also convinced that he's kind of like the Master Chief from Halo. Like, when he's done wrestling, he just goes back into his cryo tube and he just lays there until the next until the next event comes along.
Yeah, when Raw ends, if you stick around long enough, you'll see like the big tube, and like Cena goes in like.
Yeah, and just lies back and just lets the thing come down.
But anyway, this has been fun. But we have to actually break down his career instead of just break down the fact he's a fucking machine.
Yeah. Let's get back to brass tacks here.
Stop stealing my word, James.
Well, too bad.
I'll put you back in YouTube.
Ground up.
Okay.
And yes, as you can see, you can judge me all you want, but yes, I put on one of Cena's wristbands for this special occasion. I don't know if you can even see it.
You can't see me.
Yeah, it's the Rise Above Cancer one.
This episode of Career Breakdown is brought to you by Coca-Cola in a cup. I can't share this Coke with anybody. I don't have a can,
well, that's terrible.
Still brought to you by Coke. Coke is still a very important part of this video.
Swig of Coke.
Swig of Coke. Sponsors demand me to do it. So, Coke. Go get a Coke. Anyway. John Cena came into WWE in 2002, and he debuted on SmackDown against Kurt Angle, and probably one of the most impressive debuts of a person in recent memory.
June 25th, 2002, I believe is the date, if I'm not mistaken. I think.
You're creepy. I didn't even know that.
It's either the 25th or the 27th, I think. But I believe it's 25th.
Are you done?
I am done.
Are you done? It's June 27th, my friend.
Well, there you go. I said it was one or the other. Even though I still said it was.
He debuted in a match against Angle, which he eventually lost, but still a good debut.
It was still a good match for someone whose debut was on television. Network TV, no less.
But I will say this: he had his look and his attire were lackluster. Whoever sent him out there, they sent him literally to the wolves. He looks like the kid you're cheating. Oh, he looked like the kid. If you look at John Cena when he first came out, he looked like the kid in science class you'd be cheating off of for a test. He had that haircut. He had that those little weird trunks on.
He had the shorts that like matched the team of like he had those shorts on with the colors that matched like every team of every city that they were in at that time, like. But I will say this: I do believe that the Ruthless Aggression era really started that night, because I believe Angle said, "What is the one quality that you possess that makes you think that you can walk out here and compete with the very best in the business?" I think that's more than likely a misquote, but whatever. And Cena just says, "Ruthless aggression," and slap in the face. And I do believe that is when the era of Ruthless Aggression actually started. And started in a pretty damn good way, because Cena was very, I mean, for lack of a better word, he was very aggressive.
Now, getting into his early career, one thing that people might forget, that his first feud was not with Kurt Angle. I didn't know this until a couple days ago. And I watched it happen, so I must have forgot it. His first feud was not with Kurt Angle, which everyone assumes it was. His first feud was actually with Chris Jericho.
It was in the back. Cena and Jericho were in Vince's office, and Jericho said something along the lines of like, basically trying to criticize Cena's look, everything that Kyle just said, the haircut,
which is not difficult at what he was wearing.
No, and And Jericho said, like, what do you have? He said something like, "What do you have to offer, Junior, or whatever?" And then Cena just wicked slap to the face of Jericho, and he went down. And then that all culminated in a match at Vengeance 02, Cena's first pay-per-view match, in where Jericho actually had a chair at the very beginning of the match, and Jericho, I believe he ran outside the ring, tried to attack Cena. Cena ducks, he grabs a chair, and he nails Jericho in the back of the chair. Of course, this all happened before the match started, so no one got DQ'd or what have you. And Cena and Cena actually won, and it was a pretty decent match. From what I can recall, it was a decent match.
Now, I don't remember how long after that John Cena turned heel and became... Yeah, Cena turned heel, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, my God.
There was at one point where Cena was a heel.
He did go from face to heel. He did go face to heel. But I don't remember how... One second. I don't remember how soon after his feud with Jericho he turned heel, but I know it wasn't that long after. Thank the fuck he turned heel, because his little gimmick he had going, whatever it was not working.
His real rapping gimmick started at the Halloween special of SmackDown, where Cena was dressed up like Vanilla Ice, I believe, and he was doing the whole rapper thing, and it kind of evolved from there, and that's when it took off.
Which probably was one of his best mid-card runs when he was a heel and first got the rapping ring, because like he was a mid-carder from 02 to 04. Wasn't he?
Yeah. He was still kind of that in 05. I think it was around like 06 is when he like kind of put a stop to it.
Well, I know in 05, if you watch on SmackDown, he wasn't a main eventer, but he felt like he was awkward in the mid card. Like you could tell he was out of place.
By 05 in the mid card, I think he was a big fish in a small pond.
Exactly. Like, go back and watch his thing with like was it Rene Dupree or Sylvain Grenier he feuded with? One of them.
I believe it was Rene Dupree.
Yeah, it's one of them. I know they both got drafted to SmackDown, so it's one of them. And watch that feud, and it's probably one of the most awkward Cena feuds he's ever had.
I remember enjoying the build to their match. I believe it was a Judgment Day 04. I think.
Mm-hmm. The U.S. Championship.
Yep. Yeah, which I thought was a pretty solid match. From what I can recall, and it was and I mean I don't really remember it going anywhere afterwards, but I do know that after he was done that, he would then go on to have a best-of-5 series with Booker T for the U.S. title, which I thought was very, very well done.
I think that's what kept him from having to pop his bubble so soon. Like his push, his thing with Booker T, got him from point A to point C. That was his point B. One thing people don't realize, when you have someone who you're obviously pushing, there comes a time in the push where you have to cool him down because it's not ready. It's like I'm gonna compare a push to a pimple. If you pop a pimple before it's ready, it's gonna sting like a bitch. It's gonna hurt. So you need to find a way to not pop it. And it's very tricky when you have people who you obviously want to be a big star, but you don't want them there yet. They're over. They're over. Good matches, good feuds. We should do it now. But if it doesn't make sense, you need to find a way to get him from point A to point C. And Booker T was that for John Cena. Because they feuded for the better part of, 2 months?
I think, I know Booker was in that Fatal 4-Way match at Great American Bash. I believe it was Cena, Dupree, Van Dam, and Booker. And I think their best-of-5 series began at SummerSlam that year. And then it would continue on to No Mercy. And then that's when Cena finally won the title. And as a kid, I believe at that time I was about I think I was about 10 or 11 years old at that time, and I remember enjoying all 5 of those matches. I didn't think there was one that was bad.
Now Now, after he feuded with them, we kind of skipped over one thing. One thing that actually catapulted Cena into a legit star, we have to go backtrack to 2003 real fast.
Yep.
His feud with Undertaker. I think that was the most like pinnacle part of Cena's entire career. That's what made him legit. What
legitimized?
Yes, I'm around this guy, and he makes me lose my words all the time.
Yeah, blame me. Blame me.
I am blaming
okay,
you.
go ahead.
It's either you or The Miz.
Oh, really? Yes.
But his feud with Taker, which I guess they coined it as like old school versus new school, because in the middle of it, that's actually towards the beginning of his rapper gimmick, actually, wasn't it? No, not towards the beginning of it. He had it for a while, but that was like the biggest feud he had with it. Otherwise, he had feud with Rikishi, which again, his match with Rikishi was some good shit.
Rikishi, I know he did, and I know he did have one match with Lesnar for the championship, which I thought
Backlash 03, which should never have happened.
That was random, and it was unneeded. So yes, Cena and Lesnar actually did face before. They didn't face at Extreme Rules for the first time in 2012. They did face 9 years prior.
And they had a pretty decent feud. But the only thing that feud accomplished was it proved WWE at the time because still like they knew how to go back in time with their stuff. Because at the time, Lesnar was doing the whole F5 on the post thing, and he started that with Cena when they quote unquote broke his leg, which is probably the only time he's ever had time off.
A legitimate injury that put him on the shelf for a significant amount of time.
I don't know, was that a legit injury or not? I can't remember. I know they storyline it was an injury, but was it a legit injury?
I am not entirely sure.
That would be hilarious if the most time he took off was for a storyline injury. That would be hilarious. And prove our point that he's a machine.
Yeah, so after that, of course, it goes to Cena and Taker and their match at Vengeance 03, which was...
good shit.
Up to that point, that was Cena's best match. Up to that point. Because, I'm not going to lie, at that point, if I were Cena and I'm going in there against Taker, because you know how much Taker demands respect, and the man deserves all the respect he can get, I would have been scared out of my mind. I would have been like, I screw up one thing, he's going to chew me alive for it.
And him and Cena worked a very good and believable match. Like, Taker won, but what got him over in that match was the beating he took. Like, if you remember that match, he took, 3 last rides, a tombstone, a choke slam. Taker beat the shit out of him.
I think my favorite thing about that was the video package that they did leading up to it, which I thought was amazing, because I do remember at the very beginning of it, it shows Cena saying, I have become the most respected athlete or superstar or whatever on the SmackDown roster. And
turns around and there's Taker.
Yeah, and I think the thing after that, he said, I've won so many matches, kids are calling me navigation because I've never lost. So,
but skipping back ahead to the 2005, we're going to go back temporarily because 03 was a very pivotal year for John Cena.
Yes.
But in 05, you could tell he was ready to be a main eventer. But in 05, SmackDown was in an awkward stage, but they couldn't afford to pop their biggest bubble.
Not yet. I mean,
mostly because they're in the middle of JBL, and that was awesome.
Yep. In 05, 05 was definitely the beginning of the main event rise of Cena, because at the Rumble, I believe it came out somewhere in the 20s, I believe, and he came out, and I do remember one spot. Apparently, there were some wrestlers that were trying to get Viscera tossed over, and Cena comes in, fucking does it himself, all by himself, didn't have any help at all. And the ending to that was, of course, a very noteworthy one, because it kind of began both the rise of John Cena and Batista.
And the fall of Vince McMahon.
And the legitimate fall of Vince McMahon. So, Cena and Batista, They both get tossed over somehow. But if you actually go back and watch the footage, Batista was the one that got tossed out first. Cena, only one of Cena's feet hit before the other one hit the ground.
Well, aren't you just a mark?
I know. I like to be specific here, people. Judge me all you want, but I'm just saying.
I am judging the crap out of you right now.
Go ahead. But I get why they did it. But anyways, so they come back. Of course, the match has been restarted, and Batista, not Batista.
Batista, ladies and gentlemen, Batista.
That's Mason Ryan. Anyways,
Indeed.
so Batista tosses out Cena, and that kind of starts like a little pattern there of like the last two guys in the Rumble being involved in world title matches at Mania. That's kind of where it started a little bit.
It's also where it started, where the two guys at the end of the Rumble went on to have a later on feud and or a match.
Exactly.
At a later point in time, because Cena and Batista later went on to feud in SummerSlam of 08, where he broke his neck. Ish.
And, of course, I believe after that, a tournament was set up to determine the number one contender for the WWE title at WrestleMania. And I believe Cena beat...
Angle. It came down to him and Angle.
Exactly. Yes. And...
Which, by the way, I will say this. If you look it up, there's a speech that Eddie gives to John Cena at No Way Out, that pay-per-view. Really, really good promo. Go look it up.
Yes. Yeah, and then afterwards, that sets up John Cena and JBL because I believe Big Dave chose that he was not going to face JBL. He was going to face Triple H for the world title.
Now, if I'm correct, wasn't John Cena still the U.S. champion?
Yes, he was. He still had like the little
Spinner.
Yeah.
I remember there was a promo when Orlando Jordan won the championship from him. They blew it up and all that good stuff with him and JBL. I remember that. But skipping ahead, probably one of John Cena's first main event feuds was with JBL. I'm not going to look at his main event feud from going to 21 because one thing I love about the feud they did with Cena, I think it was the only time he legit looked like the underdog in a match. Like they did a wonderful job making him paint an image of him being the underdog. Which John Cena, while he always kind of acts like the underdog, you never believed he was the underdog in any match he's ever been in. Besides, probably his match going to 21. But
I will say this. Okay, about his match at 21, not great.
But served a purpose.
But it's very noteworthy because it was Cena's first WWE title.
And it also set up a run for the fact that was the second straight Mania in a row he had won a championship.
Exactly. And then they would go on to have a much better I Quit match at Judgment Day, which Cena bled.
Good match.
Like, I swear, like I couldn't see one piece of like skin on his face. It was all covered. Cena busted open like a Sid. And up to that point, I had never seen Cena bleed before. So I was like, holy shit. And
it was a good, wonderful, wonderful match. Look it up. I believe there's probably clips of it. It has to be on the network if you're in the U.S. Because it happened at Judgment Day of 05, 6.
Yeah.
05.
For only $9.99.
There you go.
Good deal.
And I want to fix something I said before. When I said like 05 was seen as like weird year, I meant 04, like 04, 05, that before the Rumble. Like from 19 to the Rumble was seen as like he's a big fish in a small pond. So I got my years mixed up. I wanted to correct myself before someone corrects me in the comments.
Yeah, and after that, Raw gets its biggest acquisition ever in draft history before the brand split had finally come to an end. Cena gets drafted to Raw. And this surprised the hell out of me because I did not think he was leaving. I didn't think he was leaving SmackDown.
Biggest pop of his career that's the biggest pop he'll ever get.
That was a huge ass reaction. Jericho said that he was going to have and this was the draft where they were just revealing one draft each week on Raw and SmackDown.
Really good way to do it too. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm. And Cena and Jericho said, I am going to have the very first draft pick on the highlight reel, and Bischoff was promoting the shit out of it, saying, I got the honor of choosing the very first draft pick, and you're not going to believe who it is. So that really got me hyped up. I'm like, I wonder who it is. Like, you know, who from SmackDown could make that huge impact? And I didn't think it was going to be Cena. I was thinking maybe like, you know, okay, he's a heel at that turn.
He's going to get JBL. JBL's going. Maybe
JBL or Taker would have been really cool. But it was Cena. And I want to say Cena was ready.
Cena was ready. One thing I do love is they continue to paint the picture of him being the underdog, which, again, lasted way too long. But if you remember the week after he was drafted, you had Cena in backstage. And like, you had Bischoff, Jericho, and like Christian come up to him, and it's like, he's champion, yet they're like acting like he's beneath them, you know?
Yeah.
Like, WWE did a wonderful job painting a picture of him as the underdog.
And they did well with it. And, of course, this led to Cena, Christian, and Jericho at Vengeance later on that month in a triple threat match for the WWE title. And I want to say SmackDown was being crippled at that point because they didn't even have a fucking champion.
Well, because they were getting good picks. Like, they'd gotten Benoit. Well, I mean, Steven Richards, obviously. They got, who else did they got? They got Benoit. Then they got
Christian later on.
Christian.
Yeah.
I know they didn't get their big pick until the week before Vengeance.
I believe it was the SmackDown after Vengeance is when Batista went over.
So basically, they went a solid month with no world champion.
Which is very difficult to do. When there's like a legitimate like no champion.
Yeah, it's not just he's not there. They're just.
And I just want to know, I'm so happy that they never went with the SmackDown champion because that didn't. I don't think that would have fit at all. However, we still don't know what the design of the title could be. I mean,
it was interesting. It was probably interesting, very interesting swerve though.
It was a very, very nice swerve. I enjoyed that a lot.
I believe it was that when Teddy came out. Was it when Teddy Long was GM?
Teddy.
Yeah. He came out like JBL player. I would give you the championship, but we already have a champion, so you are the #1 contender.
And then out comes Batista, and I'm like, wow, they swapped the two top guys in the company at that point, and they swapped them over, which I thought was really cool.
Flawlessly, I will add. Because if they would have done it like Raw, you get Cena, then Friday you get. Were they still on Friday? Were they still on Thursday? I want to say they were on Friday at that time.
I think they were on Thursday. I think they turned to Friday later on that year.
Okay. Well, like, if they would have had, like, Monday, Cena goes to Raw, and Thursday, Batista goes there, like, the same week, that would not have worked. Because like, oh, they swapped.
Yeah. But like at that point, I was very certain that, wow, SmackDown is looking to have to make their own championship.
Now, to quote Paul Heyman, SmackDown was a bitch.
SmackDown was the bitch of
they
WWE. Yeah.
But back to Cena, because we have to stay on Cena, not SmackDown.
Exactly.
Cena went on to have, I think his first run as champion in Raw was good, but could have been a lot better. Because I think they put off too long with him and big stars in Raw. Like, you had Shawn, you had Triple H. I don't think Shawn was Shawn. Yeah, Shawn was still around at the time.
Yep.
He wasn't feuding with them.
He was teaming with them. He teamed with Shawn and Hogan there after Vengeance. I remember that one.
Yeah, but like you had like the big guys in Raw, like the people who were already there on Raw. Like you had Flair, you had Triple H, you had Benoit left. Who else was big on Raw still? I don't remember.
Angle.
But Angle wasn't, but he did feud with Angle, and Angle had showed up later.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, I think they waited too long to have a feud with a big guy in Raw. Like, again, like he can only be an underdog for so long. Like when you're an underdog and you're facing other underdogs,
It's kind of like you're missing the boat here.
Yeah, it's like
The boat's over there, but you're over here.
Like, if you want him to be an underdog, you kind of have to get someone bigger than him. Like, no offense to Jericho, but Jericho was first Raw in WWE, like, on Raw back then. He was not a main eventer. He was a lower main eventer, high mid-carder at best, in 04, 05.
Yeah.
I get some people are going to hate me, like, oh, but he was world champion. He was world champion long before then. I understand that.
He was, yep.
But look back what he was doing from, like, 03, 04, 05. He was teaming with Christian and Trish Stratus. And Lita, I guess. But he was doing nothing. He was basically an upper mid-carder at best. Yeah, and then Christian wasn't even a mid-carder. I love Christian to death, but he wasn't even a mid-carder yet he got a WWE Championship match.
Out of nowhere, too.
I mean, here you have John Cena, like, you need to push him as a big guy, and you have Triple H and Shawn and Angle all on your show.
I mean, like, they spent the whole summer, it was Cena and Jericho. And Cena I think even Jericho said this on his DVD, that, like he's trying so hard to be this heel, and both guys are getting, and Jericho is getting the face reaction whenever he hit Cena, and Cena was getting the heel reaction whenever he hit Jericho at SummerSlam.
I mean, it's not like people were busy, because look at, like, Shawn and Angle, they were feuding up until Vengeance, I believe. Mm-hmm. And their feud ended after Vengeance. So Shawn and Angle were free. I forget what Triple H was doing in 05. What was he doing in 2005?
He had time off in the summer, because after that Cell match, he
so he disappeared after Vengeance, okay.
Yeah.
But my point is this, like, you had big stars you could put him with before getting Triple H, but they didn't do it. I felt they missed a big boat, and that's why, like, his believability of being an underdog didn't work. By the time he faced guys who would have been bigger than him, he was no longer an underdog. Like, when you hold the championship for almost a year, like, you stop being the underdog.
Yeah, and then...
Like, by the time he faced a big star, like, even Angle, he never really had, like, a true feud with Angle. Like, his feud with Angle was over before it started, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but, like, and
I mainly say that because, like, his feud with Angle was the exact same feud he had with Jericho, just with a different person. And the only
However, I will say this. It did give us a very, very underrated triple threat match between him, Angle, and Michaels at Taboo Tuesday, I believe.
I agree. Yeah. But, like, by the time he got to facing Triple H, who was the King of Raw for a very long time, mm-hmm. He was already a two-time champion. He was no longer the underdog. Like, I think they missed a boat, and that's why so many people turned on him. Like, so many fans turned on him. Which is like, you're not an underdog, dude. Like, why should I be like, oh, he can overcome the odds? Like, what odds are you overcoming? You are the odds. Like, so they killed all believability of him being an underdog. You know?
Yeah.
By the time he got to 22 and faced Triple H. And then they kept beating a dead horse. I think until 08, like, they beat that horse of him being an underdog until, like, 08. Like, all through 07, they beat him like, oh, can he beat Lashley? Oh, can he beat the Six-Pack Challenge? Oh, can he, like, people, he's been a champion for a year now. Like, the believability of, oh, can he do something is pretty gone.
It's like you said. There are no more odds for him to overcome. He is now becoming the odds himself.
Exactly. It's like, by that time, it's like, people, he's a 3-time champion. 2 out of 3 of his reigns were almost basically a year long. One was. He's not an underdog anymore. No one's going to believe him. That's why, like, I think in 07 and 08, it was really a turning point for the fans who really turned on Cena. It was like, what? You're not making any sense right now.
I mean, at that point, he has been on TV since 02, and at that point, it's been like 6 years. Like,
no, like the question they kept trying to build was like, can he climb the mountain? he didn't need to climb the mountain, because by the time 07 came around, he was the fucking mountain.
He became the mountain. Like,
and I think from 06 to 08, he didn't have many. He had good matches, but I think none of them we're gonna spend a lot of time on talking about, because like that was pretty much them beating a dead horse feud.
Yeah.
Over and over. Like every feud was him. Can he overcome the odds? Can he beat Umaga? Can he beat Khali? Can he beat Lashley? Can he beat Shawn at WrestleMania? Like,
now we can't skip out his feud with Edge.
We cannot. We'll come back to this. We'll come back to it. Don't worry.
Right.
Just for the sake of getting to the present, then we'll go back and talk about signature feuds. Just get going here. Like every feud he had was, oh, can he beat Umaga? Oh, can he beat Khali? Oh, can he beat Shawn? I think the only time they could paint him as the underdog was him against Shawn. That was the only time I believe they could paint him as a legit underdog. With WrestleMania 23.
Yep.
But even then, that feud was still... They tried too hard to make Shawn look heel. They tried too hard to paint Shawn as a heel and Cena as the face.
Because I think at that point, like, a lot of people were wanting to see Shawn as champion.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone wanted to see that happen.
So if you go back and watch, they never really turned Shawn heel, but he was doing heelish things. Like, he eliminated his own tag team partner and to lose the tag team championship. If that's not a heel move, I don't know what it is.
Super kicking your own partner right before your WrestleMania match when you're teaming up.
And you're tag team champions.
Yep.
I mean, they tried too hard. Like Shawn, they didn't learn the lesson in 06, 05. I mean, when he went to Hogan, you can't turn Shawn heel. And they're trying too hard. Like that's the time they tried. They had this formula that anyone who they still have this formula. Anyone who faces Cena has to be heel.
In some form or fashion.
Yeah, like they had to be the heel-ish person in the feud. Like Lashley. Lashley, who was a face, had to act heel. Any guy who faced who was a face had to act heel, and it fucked him up. Look at Ryback. I know I'm just gonna come and use a head, but Ryback was hot as a face. No. He's facing Cena. Heel.
He had to be heel. And it didn't make any sense.
Like it has to be heel. He's going against Cena. He has to be heel. But I think the only thing that was noteworthy in 08 was his feud with Batista, which was a long time coming. Him and Batista.
I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner.
I was surprised as fuck.
When they were on the same brand, of course, this is before Batista got drafted to SmackDown. I figured at some point that would happen. And of course, when he got drafted, of course, that was put on hold for a few years. But both guys, their rise started on the same night, identically. So it was only a matter of time before that was going to happen.
Unfortunately, the feud was cut short by a broken neck of some sort of fashion. Something issue with his neck. I don't know if it was a broken neck or what it was. It was something with his neck. Someone correct me. Someone tell me what it is. I don't know.
Herniated disc, I believe, is what it was.
Something in his neck. Something. I'm gonna keep calling it broken neck because it's easier to say broken neck. And then 2009, 2010, you saw the rise of Goofy Cena.
2009, Cena won a lot of titles.
He won 4 tag team championships. Not 4, 3.
Tag team.
He won 2. Cause I forgot the one he won with Batista was in 08. So now he won 2 tag team championships, many WWE championships.
And in 2009, he pretty much bumped up that world title amount. Because in 2009, he started as world champion, lost it at the Chamber, won it at WrestleMania, lost it at Backlash, won the WWE title at, I believe, Breaking Point that year, lost it at the Cell, won it back at Bragging Rights, and then lost it at TLC.
Basically, I think if you look at going into 2009, he was maybe 5, 6-time champion?
Around there, I think, yeah.
By the end of 2009, he was by the time he'd been closer to a 10-time.
Yep.
And then 2010, you had his thing with the Nexus.
Which was...
Him basically bitching out the Nexus.
I had so much hope for the Nexus storyline. I wanted that thing to grow and prosper. I was so high on that group. I thought, yes, this is good. This is brilliant right here. I mean, the way they debuted, everything like that was awesome. Of course, then Bryan got suspended, but I still had hope. And then came the SummerSlam match where it was Cena, Edge, Jericho, Cena, Edge, Jericho, R-Truth, Morrison, Bret Hart, and a returning Bryan.
Later revealed Bryan.
Yeah. And it was a 7-on-7 elimination match, and it came down to Cena and Justin Gabriel and Wade Barrett, now known as Bad News Barrett. Would have been, first off, the dude got DDT'd on concrete.
Actual concrete, not styrofoam concrete.
Actually, on concrete, Justin Gabriel goes for the 450 splash. He misses, and Cena pins him. Doesn't even do anything afterwards, just pins him after he misses. Then Barrett comes in, and he taps out.
Basically, he bitched him out. And then he gets fired, and yet he still shows him on TV every single week.
That's why you.
And
never
then he has the only gimmick change of his the third gimmick change of his life becomes John Cena for like a month.
Oh God.
And then that ends, and he goes back. Then he has another feud with Batista, which actually was not a bad feud.
That was before Nexus, though.
Oh, before, never mind.
Yeah.
Still not a bad feud.
It isn't. Very good.
I mean, I get my time. I don't have a cheat sheet in front of me, so I'm going off memory. So if anyone's like, "Oh, you forgot this," I'm going off memory here. I've gone from 2002 to 2010 without a single one mistake. This is my second mistake in a decade worth of memory.
Anyways, afterwards, oh wait, we didn't even mention his feud with Edge.
We're going back to it, Mr. Mack.
Okay, fine. I'm just saying you're going a little bit forward in time here.
Do you want to do another hour and 20-minute video?
No. Anyways, let's move on. 2011 comes, and this is where his rivalry with The Rock begins. And Rock comes in, says that there's one person that Rock has to see at WrestleMania, and that's John Cena. And basically that's where it begins. And the main event of WrestleMania 27 was John Cena versus The Miz, WWE title. Not a very good main event by any stretch of
They teased a double count out at the main event of WrestleMania.
The main event of WrestleMania. I think even Cena said this like the next night on Raw. Like the main event of WrestleMania ends in a draw. like that. Like you don't.
You have WrestleMania, the biggest spectacle in sports entertainment, in the main event. John Cena going for the WWE Championship against The Miz, and it ends in a
double
count out.
And then Rock comes back there, and apparently he's like the new GM or something like that. And he says that the match will be restarted, no DQs, no countouts, all of that shit. And then Rock bottom Cena and cost him the WWE title.
Well, no, it cost him winning the championship because he was facing for the championship.
It cost him regaining, I guess, the WWE title.
Which also goes down in history as the only time he was pinned. Was he pinned at 24? In Triple Threat?
Yes, he was.
Oh,
second time.
Oh, the second time in history he was pinned to lose. There you go.
Yep.
Also, here's another tidbit. I believe this is a fact. I'm probably going to get it wrong. He has never lost the WWE Championship at Mania.
Not to my knowledge.
He's lost matches for the championship, but he's never lost a match while champion at Mania.
He has never failed to defend the championship.
There's a good way to put it. And that's after the year-long thing of complete bullshittery and Survivor
However,
Series 2011 bullshittery, then more bullshittery.
however, that is where the Cena and Punk rivalry really did get underway.
Okay, that's the only bullshittery that did not happen in 2011 for John Cena. But after SummerSlam, it became nothing but bullshittery for John Cena.
He won the WWE.
Before Money in the Bank 2011, nothing but from Mania to Money in the Bank, bullshittery. While there was good bullshittery with R-Truth and Little Jimmy, still bullshittery.
This is true.
Then you actually get a good feud with him and Punk from Money in the Bank to SummerSlam. Then bullshittery. Then he adds to his championship total by beating Alberto Del Rio. Then loses back to Alberto Del Rio. Then Survivor Series 2011 happens. I'm not even going to let that. No, Jimmy. No, we're not even going to talk about Survivor Series 2011. Not even going to talk about it. It happened. Unfortunately, it happened. Moving on.
It wasn't
more bullshittery happened. More and more and more and more bullshittery happened. I don't remember what John Cena did until WrestleMania 28. Between Survivor Series and WrestleMania 28, what did he even do?
Embrace the hate.
That's why I forgot that. Just no. Then you get his match with Dwayne, which was probably the most anticlimactic match to ever happen in WrestleMania history.
Okay, it was a good match.
Anticlimactic is the word. I didn't say bad. Anticlimactic. Don't misconstrue what word just came out of my mouth. I did not say it was a bad match. I said anticlimactic. And if you're going to argue that that thing's bad, look up what anticlimactic means.
Okay, Mr. Hendry. Let's move on.
Before you come hating on me about that match being horrible, learn what I just said.
Let's move on, Mr. Hendry. However, Cena did go on to have
the worst year of his career.
Pretty much, because after that, he gets the shit kicked out of him by Lesnar, loses to John Laurinaitis, becomes the first person to cash in money in the Bank and lose.
Gets divorced. Don't forget, gets divorced.
Gets divorced. And I believe after that, he fails to defeat. Well, he almost beat CM Punk.
At Raw 1000.
At Raw 1000, there was that, and then.
Then the other match at SummerSlam.
Yeah, and then there was. And then there was the awesome match at Night of Champions where both shoulders were counted down, and after that, you began the whole AJ Lee scandal.
Which was them kissing in the hallway. Two single people kissing in the hallway.
However,
at the time, they were both single. At the time, they were both single. Two single people kissing in the hallway is a scandal, ladies and gentlemen.
However, it did lead to, in my opinion, Ziggler's best match against Cena in the ladder match at TLC for the briefcase, and
which Ziggler won.
Exactly, Ziggler did win it, so that just goes to show Cena doesn't put people over. There you go.
Then 2012 ends. He wins the Rumble in 2013, which, in my opinion, I'm glad they did that. Because they would have just randomly said, and Cena versus Dwayne at WrestleMania is going to happen because it's going to happen. I'm glad he won the Rumble in 2013. Whether it was billed for Ryback to win it, Ryback versus Dwayne would have been stupid.
Yeah, that would not have been well, I don't think.
I love Ryback as a face. I adored him. I'm not hating on Ryback, but him versus Dwayne would have been stupid. And I said this before, like, I used to do a show on the Weekly Wrestling Talk Show. I said this on this show a long time ago. Like, when Ryback's main push came in, the timing of his push sucked. Because you're in the middle of Dwayne's going to win the thing at the Rumble because they announced that 3 months ahead, basically announced it. The timing of his push sucked. Because he was fucked. But this isn't a career breakdown on Ryback. I'll get to that when we do a Ryback one. But, so Cena wins the Rumble, goes on to defeat Dwayne at WrestleMania 29 in probably one of the worst 27 Mania matches in history. This one I will say was bad. I'm not going to say anticlimactic. This one was bad.
I went back and I watched that a little over a year later, I went and I watched it back. The first half of it, they were so sloppy. And then in the second half, it's almost like, wait a minute, we're in the main event of WrestleMania. Maybe we should kick it up a notch. And they did.
Then they do the signature moves for like 20 minutes.
Not a very high notch, but...
rock bottom, elbow,
AA,
rock bottom,
AA, rock bottom, AA, rock bottom, AA, rock bottom. It was crazy. Nuts.
The only spot in the match that was good, I'm glad they did it, what they did, they remade the whole him going for the elbow. Cena going for the elbow, like when he did a 28.
Yes. That was.
I'm glad they remade it. I'm glad they redid that.
Was neat.
Like as like, aha! I learned my lesson.
Yeah.
And then Cena goes on. I'm glad they gave him a long reign after that, because after you beat Dwayne, you can't just lose. And he has the worst feud of his life with Ryback. Cena has a big feud. Yeah. His feud with Ryback was, to quote Ryback, vomit. The size of vomit.
Yeah, that I don't think it deserved like 6 weeks of build, because I think there was a big gap between Extreme Rules and WrestleMania. I don't think it needed all of that.
And then they said, "Hey, give a rematch."
Rematch of Payback, where it was 3 stages of hell. One of the falls was a lumberjack match. Tables match, and then an ambulance
over and over without lube.
One thing I do want to say though, is that I called Cena AAing Ryback through the ambulance. I called that shit happen.
No one cared about that, though.
I don't care. It was special to me. I called it.
Okay, James. And then he goes on. This is probably around the time he busts his elbow, what we talked about at the beginning of this video.
Yep.
He goes on to Money in the Bank, has a good feud with Mark Henry. For some reason, they dropped like a bad habit.
Mark Henry puts on some of the best acting I've ever seen.
Because he's still got plenty left in the tank. And then he has a feud with Daniel Bryan, which really was a lackluster feud.
I'm happy that it did happen, though, because those guys went on to have a very, very good match at SummerSlam.
Oh, yeah, but the feud itself was pretty flat, which I'm glad. But one thing it did prove was WWE was able to break the formula of, oh, my God, Cena has to face a heel-ish person.
And Bryan wasn't being painted as the heel. No.
And then Cena goes off for 2 months, comes back, beats Del Rio to win the World Championship, which unfortunately cost me about a year and a half of my freedom. Only some of you will get that joke. Then he loses the belts. Again, has another transitional run, which is like 20 of them. He's only a 15-time champion, but he's had 20 traditional reigns, so that makes sense.
Goes on to face Orton at TLC to unify the titles, which I thought was a very good TLC match.
Good TLC match. Then they have a horrible Rumble match, in my opinion. I didn't even watch it. I know it was horrible.
I think it was good, just the crowd. I mean, like, obviously it's going to be remembered because of the crowd. They were just eating it up alike because they did not want to see Cena and Orton again.
Nobody did. Nobody does. Nobody did. And then he goes on to Mania to face Bray Wyatt in a match he probably didn't need to win, but it happened. And now, Here we are. He has a feud with Bray Wyatt. He has a feud with Bray Wyatt. Ends that feud.
Becomes champion again.
Becomes champion. Yeah, he wins the Money in the Bank, becomes champion.
15-time champion.
Then he goes to SummerSlam and gets German suplex the piss out of him. And now we're here. We're here in 2014, and this puts an end to this breakdown. But one thing we do have to talk about is me and Mac are going to tell you our favorite Cena feuds and times in history. Really quick, just a brief rundown. Just a little biasness. We've given you a lot of history to digest. Time to have a little fun. Mr. Mac, what is your personal favorite Cena feud?
My personal favorite Cena feud is the one that he had with Edge back in 2006, because that was a feud that projected both guys, I thought. I mean, like, you rarely ever see that, because usually when a feud happens, it's used to put over one person to set them up for, higher, or, for, higher shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
This, I think and like, I think this was done to put Cena up more. But what it did, it did that for Cena, but it did that for Edge too, because both guys went on to do. Like they feuded for the better part of 2006. Like it started when Edge cashed in, went on. They had their match at the Rumble, which I didn't think Edge should have lost. I think that did not
But what they did
need.
accomplish was it kickstarted the fact that every Money in the Bank would have like a transitional run, less than a month run, which was broken by Kane.
Yeah.
At 2010.
And Punk.
Punk, no,
Oh, wait.
no.
Oh wait.
No, but the one he won the belt, he lost a month later.
Punk lost the title in September. Well, he didn't really lose the title, but like he won it in June and lost it.
No, because he cashed in on Jeff Hardy and he lost it like a month or two later. Jeff Hardy won it back at SummerSlam.
I meant 08. I'm not talking about 09. I mean 08 when he won. He's a
okay. It was still a transitional run. It was still a transitional fucking run.
No, yeah, whatever. Anyways. And then the feud was kind of put on pause after that. I think they had one more match on Raw where Foley was the referee, and then that kind of began Edge and Foley's program. But it got kickstarted again at One Night Stand when Edge speared. Well, Edge didn't really spear Cena through the table. Edge kind of speared himself into the table if you watch it back. But anyways, still Edge cost Cena the championship, and then that went on to their triple threat match, which was supposed to take place at Saturday Night's Main Event, but then RVD had to get high, and he had to get suspended. So that match happened on Raw.
I was going to main event Saturday Night Main Event, but then I got high.
Pretty much. And then those guys would go on to have a great series of matches, which eventually culminated TLC Unforgiven in Toronto. I think, which is also my favorite John Cena match. I thought that match was flawless. It was great, and they used the right amount of tables, right amount of ladders, right amount of chairs. Lita got AA'd or FU'd at that time, and it was great. I loved it.
My personal favorite John Cena feud: John Cena versus the fans.
There you go.
John Cena versus the IWC. Most entertaining feud you'll ever find anywhere in the world of professional wrestling. Provides you weekly amounts of entertainment. Hourly even.
Hourly entertainment. The IWC is there's a love and hate relationship between John Cena and the fans online.
But anyway, this video's gone on for about an hour now. I hope you enjoyed it. This is the very first career breakdown. We'll be doing one next week of Mr. Randy Orton, whether you love or hate him too. There's another Golden Boy. We're doing the Golden Boys.
Yeah, there you go.
Like the Golden Girls, we're the Golden Girls. We're going to do the Golden Boys. Yes, he called Jamie and I a girl. Deal with it. So next week, if you're a Randy Orton fan, he's up next. If you're a John Cena fan, I hope you enjoyed this little stint in history. If you enjoyed this career breakdown, let us know what you liked about it. What do you think about John Cena? What is your overall thought? What's your favorite John Cena moment? Favorite feud? Favorite championship reign?
Or if you hate Cena, state your reason.
Yeah. Well, if you hate Cena, if you're on the other side of this coin, tell us why you hate him. Like, what's your most hated feud? What's your most hated moment? Like, it goes on and on.
There's one thing about Cena that rubs you the wrong way.
Yeah. And we won't judge you. Well, I will, but he won't. And you follow me on Twitter at RadioK13. He's at Jamie Lee Mack. Hit the subscribe button. Check out our Fave 5 videos. Check out everything in the description. I don't know what I'm going to put in the description yet, but you'll find something. You might be able to find comments in the description.
Yeah. Yeah, just might continue that trend because like, just who knows, maybe YouTube might think, wait, he might be onto something. Maybe we could put comments in the description. That would make sense. That would be good. This is a money-making situation.
Totally. Anyway, hit the thumbs up button, hit subscribe. Enjoy this video. Watch it again. Share it with your friends. 'Cause I'm awesome. He's Jamie. Until we meet again.
His opinion.